Dear students, I'm Kirthika, Faculty of History here at Understand UPSC. So, are you worried about history optional? So, do not worry. I would be handling the entire history optional here at Understand UPSC. Now, the most frequent question what students ask me is, Ma'am, why should I choose history as an optional? Because I hear that it's one of the toughest optional. It is not scoring. We don't find it manageable. We don't find it approachable. So, as a teacher who's taught for many years, what I generally feel is if you are interested in history to be your optional, so there are some points which I would like to deliver now. And here I would like to begin with why history as an optional. So, getting into history as an optional. So, to give you a small brief, all optionals are equally good. If you look at history optional, we divide history optional into two papers. So, we call it as paper 1 and paper 2. So, as we all know, all optionals, we have it for 500 marks. So, this paper 1 is for 250 marks and paper 1 250 marks and paper 2 250 marks separately. In total, we have the optionals for 500 marks. So now when you look at the optional pattern here, paper 1 we have section A, paper 2 we have section B, paper 1 section B, again paper 2 section A and section B. To keep it very simple, paper 1 section A is our ancient Indian history. Paper 1 section B is our medieval Indian history. Paper 2 section A is modern Indian history and paper 2 section B is our world history. So this is the syllabus of history optional. So if I take the positives of history optional, so why history optional? I would like to make you understand that it overlaps with GS. So history is an overlapping subject. It is overlapping with our general studies. Ancient, medieval, modern world, what we study in our GS paper is exactly the same what we have it in our optional. So generally I tell students 85% of the syllabus is overlapping. The remaining 15% is where we have some little bit of depth, where we have some concepts to be covered. And there are some new kingdoms which UPSC has included, so that will be covered. So it is overlapping with GS. And the second thing, there is a general ideology that it is not scoring. History is a factual subject. So the second advantage is it is a factual subject. If you have the retention capacity, if you are able to memorize and remember all the years, the events, the battles, the kings in a chronological pattern, this subject would be yours. Say, for example, a GS student would study the first battle of Panipat, which took place in 1526 between Babur and Ibrahim Lodi. The same first battle of Panipat would be here in optional. Here, we need not write the dates or we need not write the month. It's just going to be 1526, the first battle of Panipat. 1757, the battle of Plassey. So, it is a factual subject. And if you have your retention power, if you're able to retain your facts, this subject is yours. And again, this factual part, I'm trying to link it with overlapping with GS. And this is a subject which is filled with plenty of stories. Who doesn't like stories? I think we all have grown up by hearing stories. But these stories, we don't write it in the answer sheet. But these stories would help you to connect the paper and you can write your answer. And stories are always retention based. So automatically, when the subject is story based, automatically it makes the subject very interesting. So history is one of the interesting subject as well. Being factual, you connect it with story and you memorize it with your retention power. So what you do for your GS, you're just gonna do it for your optional. Again, since it's a factual subject, if you know the facts by heart and if you're able to connect it and write an answer meeting the demand of the question, automatically you would fetch good marks. In section A, the first question we have map. So it's map, we do not have world map, it's only about India. So when you mark the places, when you identify the places, and while studying the optional, we would be thoroughing lots of places. So automatically, when you start studying the places, you should write 30 words about each place, which naturally makes you what? To score the paper. Yes, history optional is a scoring optional. Every year, 100 students clear with history optional. And very recently, we have toppers coming up with history optional as well. If toppers are coming out of history optional, why wouldn't history optional be scoring? So, this is one important thing I would always say. And the next thing is, next positive advantage of history optional is you need not study all the books. Your study material is very less in history optional. I would not suggest you to read all the fatty pillow books which is there available in the market. I would generally give students one book to thorough, revise, and the class notes will play a very, very important role. So you need to read just one book, ancient one book, medieval one book, modern one book, and world history one book. And all these would be, the base would be your class notes. And I have customized the class notes according to the syllabus. So your syllabus also will go accordingly. And once you find all these to be covered, the subject would stand with you. The next important thing what students ask is, what are the myths regarding history? So there are plenty of myth. Again, to put it as a positive point, what I've discussed, students generally believe, the first misconception students believe is it is a dry subject. But I would tell you that it is not a dry subject. Rather, I would call it as an interesting subject. History is an interesting subject because you study your past, you know your past. Isn't it interesting? And when you know your past, you can plan your future better. So, this is one misconception. Ma'am, it's dry, it's boring. It is not. The second misconception what students believe is it is very tough subject. Students believe it to be very tough. Now tell me which subject is not tough in UPSC. UPSC has kept all the subjects equal. So it is not tough. Getting it? It is easy subject. Why? Because you need not have an extra reading in history because it overlaps with your GS. So history overlaps with your general studies. So it is not tough. The third misconception what students generally tell me is, ma'am, it is lengthy. It is a lengthy optional. So yes, it is lengthy, but that's not a misconception, that's a fact. It's a fact that it is lengthy. Getting it? So lengthy here, it is a fact. But again, this lengthy paper, I would call it as it is easy. Again, I put it like it is overlapping with your GS. You need not squeeze extra time to study history optional. When you study, let's take an example. I will just give you a small example. In general studies, we have a topic called the Harappan civilization. So there, what do we study in Indus Valley civilization? We study about the extent. First, let's go with the background. We study the extent, we study the features, we study the characteristics, then we study the decline of IVC, then we study the survival and continuity of IVC. Let's take these 6 subtopics a GS student would study in Indus Valley civilization. Now let's come to the optional syllabus. The same 6 subheadings are there in the optional. So what extra are we going to study? Here in optional, we are just going to write about town planning. We are just going to write about the architecture. explain about the religious and economic model about IVC. So the writing part is little bit intense. But again, to put it, it is not lengthy. That is a misconception. What general was, sorry, it's not tough. The next is too much to remember. Students generally tell me, ma'am, too much of to remember. But I would tell you that not at all. You need not remember everything. What is required to be remembered? So, what is required to study, and that is actually fine. Again, as I told you, you should know the third battle of Panipat, which took place in 1761. You need not know the month and the date. So, as optional kids, students, it's not necessary that you write the month and the date, which is again a misconception what generally students have. Study what is required. It is not too much to remember. You have to be limited. Again, the next one, as I told you before, the next misconception is history is not a scoring subject. Again, I would say no, not at all. It is a scoring subject because my students who have cleared this exam, they have taken, my students who have taken it, they have got 303. My student who have cleared this time has got 299, 288, 267. So in all these, and we had a ranker called Shruti Sharma who got rank 1 with history optional. So how would history optional not be scoring? It is a scoring subject. So generally, these are the ones what history optional student has. These are the myth. The next myth what students believe is about the map marking regarding the maps. Ma'am, should I be a cartographer? Maps are very tough. Again, I would say maps are not at all tough. Why? Because the location is provided by UPSC. UPSC provides the location provided by UPSC. You have to spot the location. You have to spot the location. This would be there in the classes with practice. So, how would this be tough? So, this is a general misconception. And whenever I talk to students and listen to students, they generally tell me that, ma'am, history is big, history is big, history is big. Because the components what we have make you feel like that. So, bigger ones are tough. It's wrong. Bigger ones might be easy as well. And this subject, history, is as easy as it is. I hope it was beneficial to you. And any queries, any doubts, any clarification, feel free to walk in to understand UPSC and you can talk to me and clarify all your queries and doubts. History is as it is. Thank you.